the commander of the El Poblado Police Station would ask for a cut, even on monies found from other officers. This, according to the prosecutor during the officer's trial. I have this story that I want to tell in detail so that you know all the details. And then the second story is going to be a little bit shorter, but it will be in English. It'll be the Secretary of Safety as well as the Commandant of the Police Department in Medellin. So stick around for that story, but let's just jump into this first one. This one, again, is of the police commandant of the El Poblado Station in Medellin, Colombia. El Colombiano had access to the hearings in which the officer was prosecuted. Charges between 150 mil and 800 mil for permits and references led to the officer and a sub-inspector being imprisoned. For asking for between 150 mil and 800 mil to grant permits and other favors, in addition to a demand after losing money to some Americans, Major Yismar Andrei Rodríguez Martínez, until a few days ago, commander of the Poblado Police Station in Medellin, and his driver, Sub-Inspector Juan Esteban Osorio, were sent to prison by the military justice system. During the hearings before the judge of guarantees, the prosecutor's office presented 3 key facts that were reported against the officer, who arrived at his police station on July 11th of this year, and the sub-inspector who would have become his trusted man and would serve as the intermediary to make the collections. El Colombiano had access to the hearings and recapitulates the file. The most sensitive cases believed to occurred on October 7th, the very day that the U.S. citizen reported that $26 million had been stolen from him. After police units went to attend a case of domestic violence by a foreigner against his partner, who was originally from the same country. One of the officers reported the situation to his superiors, and hours later, he requested permission. In order to be granted it, he was asked to pay 200 mil to Major Rodríguez Martínez and his trusted man, Subintendent Osorio. However, according to the complaint, the major described this amount as a chichwinga, thinking that the police officer had kept part of the money lost to the American. I was going to pay him back for those pittance because they weren't going to come up with those stupid things after what had happened, said the prosecutor in the case, referring to one of the conversations about the request made that Monday. Finally, 200 mil were returned to the account of the police officer who had paid for the permit. If they wanted permits, they had to give him money. But the above situation was only the first in the file. On October 4th, a uniformed officer needed to avoid an anti-noise operation that was going to take place on Friday night in different sectors of Comuna 14, El Poblado, which was focused on commercial establishments. To achieve this, he immediately, through Subintendent Osorio, asked his superior to please remove him from that availability, as additional tasks to be established function of uniformed officers are classified. The request was allegedly made at 4 p.m. that day, and the response was that he had to pay 150 mil to be granted this benefit, of which 50 mil would remain in the intermediary's account, and the other 100 mil would go to the superior to authorize it, all assigned to a Nequia account of the third party close to the driver, so that he could allocate it to the major. These consignments would be supported by evidence that rests in the folios of the accusing entity. The first case mentioned by the prosecutor's office during the hearing alleged occurred around November 20th, when Major Rodríguez allegedly requested this through his right-hand man, 800 mil from one of the uniformed officers, arguing that he needed funds because his daughter was sick. According to the prosecution, in order to give him more favors, they pressured him to hand over the money. But after some conversations, the officer who reported the situation obtained 400 mil that was borrowed to meet the demand. According to the evidence presented at the hearing, the officer allegedly sent the money to the account of a person close to the subintendent, and this person, in turn, after collecting his commission, would deliver the money to the station commander through Nequia. After the third case, one of the affected patrolmen decided to report the major and the sub-inspector for the irregularities committed at this police station, and on November 15th, both were arrested at the Metropolitan Police facilities. According to the mayor of Medellin, Federico Gutierrez, Major Rodríguez had already been removed from his post while the investigation was underway, a version that was denied by the authorities as the judicial process progressed. But as the complaints progressed, the officer who brought the legal action was a victim of several threats. But as the complaints progressed, the officer who brought the legal action was the victim of several threats, as well as isolation and surprise transfers from his work, according to the prosecutor in the case. Following this situation, the commander of the Metropolitan Police, General William Castaño, indicated that the officer is suspended from his duties while the military justice system determines his guilt as well as that of the sub-inspector. Unfortunately, in all institutions, there are people who do not comply with institutional guidelines and those who do not align themselves with the honest work as it should be, who do not represent us very well as authorities, will obviously be dismissed and arrested, said the high-ranking officer. So there you go. Just a little bit more details. It looks like there was some retribution against the officer that turned him in, but hopefully all will be well with him and every other police officer that just does the right things. Don't let stories like this dissuade you from calling the police. 1, 2, 3. You need help? Call. These stories happen. It happens here. It happens in every country, I'm sure. But I know what people are going to say in the comment section. Well, I call them. Why call them? Well, when my house is on fire, I call the fire department. I don't care what kind of interpersonal deals they have. Same thing. If somebody's getting robbed on the street, I'm going to call the police, whether I think they're corrupt or not. I'm going to call. I mean, what's your recourse? Anyway, let's jump into this next story. This is going to be a little bit shorter, but I want you to hear what the Secretary of Security and the Brigadier General that's in charge of the Metropolitan Police for Medellin says. I'll put them in English so that you get to hear from their mouths. But let's just jump through the story right quick. This is in major police operations. Authorities in Medellin struck a blow against criminal networks by seizing ownership of 7 hotels, a tenement, and a parking lot in La Candelaria. These properties, valued at over $11.5 million, were used for crimes such as commercial sexual exploitation of young ones, illicit substance trafficking, and homicides. The operation, led by the mayor's office, the attorney general's office, and the Metropolitan Police, targeted properties including the Albert, Nuevo Amor, and Porunio Rela hotels. At the Albert Hotel, an Israeli citizen was found with a minor and illicit substances. The seized parking lot was used to store stolen vehicles. This action underscores the authorities' committed to combating illicit activities and reclaiming the public space.
In a joint operation between the Medellin Mayor's Office, the Attorney General's Office, and the Metropolitan Police of Valle de la Ura, we achieved the seizure of 8 properties in the city center, valued at over $11 billion. Among the intervened properties are 7 hotels and 1 parking lot that had been used for illegal activities such as the commercial sexual exploitation of children and adolescents, drug trafficking, homicides, and personal injuries. Among the intervened establishments are the Albert Hotel, which is located right behind us, Hotel Nuevo Amor, Hotel Peruano Real Yarima, Zara, Hotel Libya 1 boarding house, as well as a parking lot. At the Albert Hotel, this one right behind us, located at Carrera 52, number 54111, one of the most serious cases occurred. On September 13th, an Israeli citizen was caught in a room with a 16-year-old minor, while in another room, approximately 2 kilos of marijuana was found. The intervened parking lot was used to store stolen vehicles and motorcycles from various areas of the city, serving as a key point for the logistical operations of criminal organizations dedicated to theft and the illegal sale of vehicles. During the investigation, maneuvers by the owners were detected to evade the actions of the authorities, such as changes in business name and other legal strategies intended to obstruct the seizure of property. Since the beginning of this administration, under the leadership of Mayor Federico Gutierrez, we have been emphatic in attacking criminal structures, but especially their sources of funding, because we know that money is what really hurts them. Mayor Federico Gutierrez warned at the time that we saw properties where crimes were committed and that we would not only capture those responsible or those who facilitated it, but we warned that we would pursue the seizure of property, and today we are fulfilling that. Our priority is to protect minors and ensure that these spaces are not used again for illegal activities. We will remain steadfast in our fight and our work to combat crime and protect our citizens. The second round of bandits who think they are smarter or more clever than the authorities, we are showing them that they cannot defeat the institutions, much less when the prosecutor's office, the police, and the mayor's office work together, use hands.
We are in the center of the city of Medellin, carrying out a coordinated operation with the Attorney General's office and the mayor's office of the city of Medellin, where, The seizure of 8 properties valued at over $11 billion is being executed. Asset forfeiture purposes. In these places, between the year 2022 and 2024, 40 search warrant actions have been carried out for drug trafficking and commercialization. In the particular case of this hotel-type property, the National Police had previously suspended the activity temporarily on 3 occasions for allowing minors to enter and for not meeting the requirements to carry out the established economic activity. The most serious issue is that cases of commercial sexual exploitation of children and adolescents were also recorded. It is worth noting that this year, 17 asset forfeiture operations have been carried out in the metropolitan area of Valle de Aburrá. This type of sustained operations by the National Police against properties used by criminal structures for drug trafficking allows for judicial action to attack and remove from their ownership the assets acquired with economic resources derived from illegal activities.
Again, if I can leave that same message that I did after this prior story, if you need the police, call the police. Call 123. Please don't get that attitude. I'm not calling anybody, because 95% of the stories right now probably don't get reported, and we don't have the benefit of knowing of what's going on. If you don't report it, nobody's going to know. They're not even going to know to look for the report. They don't see it. And if they see it, they may not even call the police. So I say, don't let this stop you from calling the police here, there, anywhere. I mean, that's what they're supposedly there for. I mean, at some point, you got to trust. Go on faith, brothers. Camilla will be back soon. It's going to be a process to get certain stories through. Some I can just read straight through like this, or kind of straight through, and get them out a little bit quicker. Anyway, you're up to date with the latest news out of Medellin, Colombia, and Colombia as a whole. Thank you guys for watching. Remember to travel, but travel safe. Okay, hold on, guys. Hold on, guys. Right quick. If you need to have things shipped to Colombia, shipped to someone else, or shipped to yourself to Colombia from the United States, make sure you reach out to CaribbeanShipper.com. CaribbeanShipper.com. The contact information is coming next. Join me on social media. I am dcbornrob official on Instagram. I am dcbornrob official 1 on TikTok. I am dcbornrob O on Twitter. Don't be like this guy right here.
You're just so stupid. I had to send you a video to let you know you're so stupid.
That's right. Don't be like this guy right here. Join me on social media. Headed to Medellin, Colombia? See my guy Andres with Nomad Travel for safe airport pickups and drop-offs and tours. Contact information in the description below. If you're in Medellin and you need dental work done, from a basic cleaning to major reconstructive surgery, come see my guy, Dr. Carlos Maury. Contact information in the description below.
Thanks for hitting like. You did the right thing by hitting like. Thanks for hitting like. Thanks for hitting like. dcbornrob.